All right, hackers, let's dive in. I have a Dart project set up here with a file named main.dart, which resides in a bin subdirectory in my project's root. And here I have the boilerplate code and so on. And I have this problem that I want to solve. I want to create a program that takes in some planetary system data from a JSON file and provides this kind of interaction. So where do we start with the problem? Well, maybe there's a couple approaches. I could start with the problem of reading and parsing that JSON data, and that would be a fine approach. I'm going to take the opposite approach, a top-down approach, where I start with the interface, and the goal here is to have a program that always runs and is as close to the specification as possible. So if I can get a program that runs and displays this kind of output, I'm kind of close. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to take this text, the sample output of the specification, and I'm going to use it in my program. So where do I put this code? In Dart, the main entry point, or the starting point of a program, is a function named main. So in other words, in Dart, I can't just have top-level code out here like this with a statement that you might be able to do in some languages like Ruby and Python and so on. I have to have a function named main, and that's going to be the starting point of my program. If you've seen C, C++, or Java, this will seem familiar. So I'm going to write my code in the body of main here. I'm just going to go ahead and paste that text. And let's go ahead and wrap this stuff in some print calls. So I'll say print and do this. Now I'm going to go ahead and indent this code 2 spaces following the Dart convention. And I'll go ahead and add one more print statement here. And there we go. So right away I see that I can have statements or lines of code in Dart that must end in a semicolon. I can invoke functions in Dart by specifying the name or identifier of the function and a parenthesized list of arguments. We also see here Dart string literals. So string literals can be wrapped in single ticks or double ticks, but you'll notice that I have a problem here. I have a string literal with a single tick inside it, so I need to use an escape code here and escape that single tick right there so that it doesn't think that I'm terminating the string. And there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and save this program and run it. So to run it, I could open up a fresh terminal session and invoke the Dart VM and ask it to execute the program. I'm going to go ahead and use the VS Code terminal feature here. So I'm going to say, hey, Dart VM, go ahead and execute the program in bin main.dart. And I need to specify the bin directory because I'm invoking the Dart VM from the root directory of my project here. So I go ahead and run this. And we're done. I'm being a little silly, but notice that the program runs. It's kind of close to the specification. And now we have this context of breaking it down and making each piece come alive with the behavior and logic and the data-driven requirements of our problem. You'll notice I have this import statement, which we'll learn more about later, at the top of my program. And to demonstrate a comment, I'm just going to comment this out because right now in my program, I don't really need it. So I'm going to do that and save my program. You can learn more about this in the language samples guide. Here's what they're talking about where they say every app has a main function. You can see more about the print function in the documentation for the Dart core library. This is a library that's automatically imported by Dart. You can think of it as being built into the language, but it really is an external library. Lastly, my choice of using single ticks for strings is under the influence of the Flutter programming conventions. To recap, you can have a single line comment in Dart with 2 forward slashes. Every Dart program has a main entry point, which is a function named main. You can have statements of code in Dart that must end in a required semicolon. You can invoke functions in Dart by specifying the name of the function and providing a parenthesized list of arguments. String literals in Dart can be surrounded in single ticks or double ticks and support usual string literal mechanics like escape sequences. And lastly, you can run your program by invoking the Dart VM from the command line and providing it the path to your Dart file.